Where were you when Damian Lillard went on an absolute tear of shot making so great that when he finally missed a shot, Austin Rivers was praying to the heavens? 2 years ago in Denver, with the series tied 2 games apiece, Dame was faced with the ultimate task of seemingly taking on the Nuggets 1 versus 5. And what he did in that game may hold for a long time as, in my opinion, the greatest offensive performance in NBA history. Dame's of course most known for his ability to shoot the absolute lights out of the ball, and in this game it was no different, hitting 12 threes, the most ever in a playoff game, while only attempting 17, converting more than 70% of the time. Even in just this one performance, there was so much versatility in how he got to these looks. Most commonly it's in the high pick and roll. Jokic drops back to the paint as Nurkic comes to set a screen, and that's just way too much room to comfortably get into a pull-up jumper. And to avoid these sort of easy looks, what you'll see is more aggressive coverage. MPJ jumps out to the ball in an attempt to force it out of his hands, but Norman Powell wisely flips the screen in the opposite direction, so when Lillard instead attacks left, there's nobody in position to stop him from getting to his spot. It's not always this easy though, just coming off a screen and rising up, and what helps separate Dame from countless other shooters is how he's able to create that added separation needed to get these shots off at volume, especially in isolation. Portland clears a side of the floor for him to work from a standstill, and Rivers has to worry about the shooting while also respecting the driving game. A little one dribble sidestep generates some space, and 3 more points are on the board. He'd routinely weaponize the threat of drives into cleaner looks on the perimeter like this, going between the legs and exploding left as if looking to get to the rim, which forces Marcus Howard to turn his body and sell out to the paint, only for Dame to shift his momentum with a sharp step back, and the result is another effortless triple. This time he starts away from the ball, coming off of 2 pin down screens going towards the middle of the floor, and look at how much space he has off the catch. He takes 1 dribble while hesitating to see what Jokic is going to do, and when the big man backpedals to protect the lane, he's left with a practice jumper. These sort of off-ball actions were another way for him to get some separation behind the arc. Rivers calls for a switch on the first screen, but Porter doesn't budge, and now on the second one, it's a 2-on-1 versus Jokic. Jokic jumps out to the right side, so Dame takes a dribble while sidestepping back to his left. And did I mention his range is something out of a video game? His ability to just stop and pop, regardless of momentum, left him a huge threat to pull the trigger in transition. It's again a 2-on-1, and Jokic has to get back to protect the paint, leaving nobody to stop the ball as he not only knocks it down, but also gets fouled from behind in the process. Because Lillard was so lethal in the open floor, the defense had to do everything in their power to find and meet him with immediate resistance as soon as he crossed half court. But that just leaves the rest of the defense out of position as he finds CJ McCollum for a big time corner 3. And that's the key. This caliber of shooting, coming in so many different ways, opens up a wide variety of other offensive avenues. Howard has to pick him up multiple feet above the line because of the rangy pull-up jumper, which then leaves him more vulnerable to Dame's explosive downhill attack. Lillard's first step and ability to change speeds is among the very best. Porter just has no chance as he hesitates before turning on the Jets, getting all the way to the cup for 2 points plus the foul. It's the exact same thing in the high pick and roll. Covington's legit setting these screens 1 foot in from the logo, and Jokic has to jump all the way out to the level. The first one doesn't land, so they flip the action for a second use and Rivers gets caught. So now it becomes Lillard versus Joker in wide open space, and he's just way too quick off the initial burst for the big guy to ever have a chance. Here's a real similar play, turning the corner and getting by Jokic in space, but this time Rivers slides way over from the weak side to help protect the paint. With JaMychal Green rotating to the corner man, that leaves Carmelo Anthony on an island above the break. Lillard finds him on a pinpoint pass over the top as his 3-point shot just comes up short. Dame's an incredibly good passer out of drives. Here's another one where Jokic comes up, gets beat off the bounce, which draws weak side help, but this time it's the corner that's left alone. with the same result as last time on a missed opportunity. It wasn't just getting into the defense that led to high quality offense for others, but just like the shooting, the threat of him turning the corner on drives that led to more aggressive coverages. Jokic is up at the level and stays attached to the ball to force him away from the middle, but that just leaves Robert Covington by himself near the top of the key, this time converting for 3 points. And just because the coverage was meant to keep him away from the paint doesn't mean it always worked. The idea behind Denver's defensive approach here is to let Nurkic get the ball in the short roll and force him to be the decision maker. But Dame instead hesitates and explodes on a left-hand drive, which then draws the attention of Porter at the rim, freeing up Nurk down low for an easy 2 points. Portland's offense still made a living out of those 4-on-3s Lillard could create at will though, and this is made possible by Nurkic's ability to make plays with the ball. Again, Denver's just conceding the advantage and hoping they can recover, but Porter just isn't big enough at the rim to turn away the drive. Here it is again. Nurkic slips the screen while Jokic and Morris leave a very slight gap, giving Dame an angle to shovel it in, and now you're left with 5'10" Marcus Howard on a 6'11", 290-pound center in the paint. And when the Nuggets made an effort to protect the paint from these advantageous opportunities, with Facu Campazzo coming way over to meet Cantor early, that just leaves Covington all alone at the top of the key as he steps into another triple of his own. So in defending Lillard, you first have to worry about his shooting, whether that's coming off the ball, in isolation, in transition, or in the high pick and roll. Once that's covered, then you have to worry about him exploding on a drive, where he's a threat to score at the rim, get to the line, or create for others. And if you're somehow able to design a defense that can both take away his threes and prevent him from getting to the paint, then there's little to no room for error as he surveys the floor and makes plays for his team from outside. He seemingly has a counter for everything that's thrown at him, and what you saw to close out this pivotal Game 5 was a combination of everything I've talked about up to this point, but dialed up to the highest level possible. With 10 seconds left in the fourth, down 3, the Blazers put out a small ball lineup consisting of 4 shooters around Dame, so that he could isolate from the top of the key with space. He goes to that signature pound dribble sidestep to his right and buries a triple to send the game to OT. To start overtime, they go to a high pick and roll that pulls Jokic out to the perimeter, and Dame throws a hesitation to threaten the pull-up J before completely burning him on a drive, which leaves Norman Powell with a warm-up triple from the corner, but he's unable to capitalize. This time it's a one-on-one isolation, and just look at where Rivers picks him up, and how much room he's left to operate with. He fakes a drive left before going behind his back to get the step going right, and uses his off shoulder to initiate contact before leaving his feet for a 3-point play. Down 8 with a minute left, they're running on desperation. Dame comes off a high ball screen, and Jokic does a great job of picking him up at the level and sticking with him to not give up an attack angle, but that only results in a very favorable switch. So Lillard gives the ball to Melo and immediately relocates to God knows how far away from the basket and sets his feet for an absolute bomb that he makes look routine. At a certain point, I think he realized that the only way they'd have a chance of winning this game is with him forcing the issue. So he just started shooting the ball every single time he got a clean look at the basket. He hesitates before taking that first step as if looking to drive, which forces Rivers into recovery, before hitting him with a jarring step back for yet another huge triple. At this point, anyone who was watching the game couldn't possibly find the words to describe what they were witnessing, only for Lillard to come down the very next possession down 3 and spin into a turnaround, sidestepping fadeaway over the top of a smothering contest to force double overtime. To start the second extra period, it was again a high pick and roll, and because Dame's seemingly shooting with the game sliders notched all the way up, it's easy to forget that he'll just turn the corner and attack the cup if given any sort of space. To take away that space, the next time he uses a screen, Gordon comes all the way out to the logo in an aggressive hedge so that Rivers can recover. but what they didn't take away was the 35-foot pull-up jumper. There's never been a greater display of shot making. With under a minute remaining, the Nuggets' only goal was to not let Lillard see the basket, putting 2 on the ball nearly 40 feet out. Yet still he's able to find a wide driving angle going to his left that then pulls the attention of a third defender down low, dumping it off to Covington, who just doesn't have any legs left on the dunk. Unfortunately, that was the story of this game. Non-Dame Blazers shot 9 of 31 or 29% from 3 and 30 of 79, 38% from the field, while turning the ball over 13 times. Yet still, they had a 126.5 offensive rating in 51 minutes with Lillard on the floor, and that's because individually, he was about as perfect as one can be. He recorded the most efficient game with at least 45 points in NBA playoff history, with his 55 points on nearly 97% true shooting. He also added 10 assists that resulted in 25 points for his team, meaning he either scored or assisted on 80 points while only turning the ball over one single time. This is what offensive perfection looks like. They would go on to lose the game and ultimately the series despite his Herculean performance, and although he's remained in Portland for years after, this sort of felt like the beginning of the end of an era. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to drop a like, subscribe, and turn my post notifications on to be first on more content. If you're interested in my more in-depth research, make sure to check out my website and social media profiles. You can find those links in the description. Feel free to let me know down in the comments what you thought of this performance from Dame. As always, I hope you all have a great day, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.